This short presentation, titled Read It, Snap It, Match It, Answer It, provides a 4-step essential skill strategy that can be applied in all subjects whenever you're being asked a question. And it's a strategy to help you make sure that you are directly responding to the question that's being asked. It's particularly useful in short answer and essay type questions, and even more so when you're writing in timed situations or exam situations. Okay, so the first step is the read it step. And when you read the question carefully, note the important keywords in the question. Often these keywords are verbs, which are either action words, or nouns or noun phrases. Nouns are person, place, or thing. Keep in mind, a thing can also be an idea. A noun phrase is just a group of words working together like a single thing. So if we look at a simple short answer question, what are the causes of World War I? First step, read it and identify the keywords. We can identify in this question, we have two sets of keywords, causes and World War I. Okay, let's look at a more complex question, a kind of essay type question. Do you agree or disagree that we now lead our private lives in public as a kind of performance? It's not entirely clear from the beginning what the question is asking, but if we apply this essential skill strategy and we do the first step, the read it part, we identify the keywords in the question. So if you apply that strategy to this question, you probably identify the following keywords: agree, disagree, private lives, public, performance. So before you begin answering the question, after you've identified the keywords, it's helpful to do a little mind map around the keywords to help think about the connections that resonate in your mind with these words. And this is useful because it helps you prepare for a response. Whenever you're writing a response to a question, you're applying your own understanding and your own experience to the case, and then you're answering the question and you're harvesting that information or experience. So agree and disagree are rather straightforward keywords, but if we look at private and lives and private lives together, public and performance, and we try to mind map kind of synonyms and related words to these keywords, we might come up with something like the following. So in terms of private, you might think of personal, sensitive, confidential. If you think of private lives together, you might think of like relationships or affairs, loved ones, family, also hobbies or thoughts, feelings. You could keep going with this, but the idea is just to get started to kind of to build a web of connections in your mind. If you look at public, you might think of on display or open or free or shared or people, accessible, available, sometimes the expression the public eye. If you look at performance, you might think in a lot of different directions about acting or theater, Shakespeare. You also might think of performance as artificial or dramatic, or a presentation, a show, something staged, entertainment, not real. You might also think of movie, TV shows, awards, and you might also think of interpretation, because performances are often interpretation. These are the keywords that kind of resonate with me as I'm sort of initially applying the strategy to think about what these words mean. So that's the read it part. That's the first step. The second step is to snap it. And this is perhaps the most important part of this 4-step process. Every question you can think of as having two parts. And it was drawn for me the first time I was introduced to this idea as a question mark. And you can think of a question mark as having two parts, a given and a requested. And if you can snap the two pieces in half when you apply it to the question, it'll help you identify a response direction. So here's the step. You snap the question by separating the given information from the requested information. You write the given information as a statement, as a sentence, rather than a question with a question mark at the end. And then you write the requested as the shortest possible question that you can think of. So if we apply this to the previous question, our World War I example, we try to snap the question in half. In order to do that, you take off the question word, the what at the beginning, and you take off the question mark at the end, and you try to just edit the sentence as minimally as you can, but write it as a statement. So if we snap it in this case, we might get, there are causes of World War I. That's the information the question provides you just by being phrased as a question. The requested is, what are they? Right? So in order to answer this question, all we have to do is supply a list of causes and expand a little bit on that list. This one's a fairly straightforward kind of question. A more complex question, like our essay question here, do you agree or disagree that we now lead our private lives in public as a kind of performance? Okay, how do we snap this one? Again, we have to take off the words that frame this as a question and take off our question mark at the end. In this case, the do you agree or disagree are the key words that really frame this as a question. So if we take those off and separate that part of the question from the other part of the question, and then we'll have to take off the word that, but we can rephrase the latter part of the sentence very easily as we now lead our private lives in public as a kind of performance. And the requested is, do you agree or disagree? So the snap it part is the idea of breaking the given information from the requested information. It allows you to write the given information, identify what the question is providing you, and then you can use that given information to structure your response. And this is step 3. Step 3 is the match it part. You can write a clear topic sentence or a thesis statement if you're writing a larger essay that uses the structure of the given information. So we look at our World War I example. Our given information was there are causes of World War I. We could write, use the given information, causes of World War I, and we can write the causes of World War I are, and then we supply the answer as our topic sentence, and then we can expand on it in our short answer. With our larger essay question, we can use that given information again. We now lead our private lives in public as a kind of performance because that's one direction you can answer this question. You agree with the question, and then you supply the reasons after the because. Or you could write, we do not lead our private lives in public as a kind of performance. But again, I don't agree is not an answer to a short answer or an essay question. So we have to provide a clear direction. So in this case, we would have to add, if we don't lead our private lives in public as a kind of performance, what do we do? So we'd have to supply an answer there. But we can use this to structure our thesis. There's one other alternative if you want to do the agree and disagree response. And there are different variations of how you might phrase this, but in blank situations, we may lead our private lives in public as a kind of performance, but in blank situations, we do not. So either 3 of these would be directions that you could actually answer the question. The final task is to answer it. And when you answer it, again, you have to figure out, well, what does the question actually mean? And often there's a reading or a resource that will help you to generate some ideas. But again, those keywords that we had identified and brainstormed around will help us, give us vocabulary to respond to it. When you're answering the question, if it's an essay question, I recommend a kind of 4-step part to the answer part. Locate the keywords in the document. So those keywords that you identified in the question, go through and scan the document or the reading really carefully and highlight or underline those keywords. And then cycle through the text to find other important synonyms or keywords, things that are related to that. And then go through and read the essay. And you want to integrate those ideas of the text with your own understanding of the issue. So in this case, I always recommend you annotate a text really carefully with a pencil or a pen, underline, circle, draw lines, write marginal notations. That will help you to connect the reading or the ideas with your own experience. And then finally, generate a response. And that's where you get to do the full answer it, and you write your essay or your short answer question.